Norway 3, Senegal 2, a World Cup thriller that had everything. Welcome to FairPlay, Football AI Review. This was a match that carried enormous weight for both sides. Norway arrived at MetLife Stadium knowing that 6 points from 6 would effectively seal their place in the last 32. Senegal, meanwhile, needed a victory to stay alive in the tournament. A second defeat would leave them entirely dependent on results elsewhere. The stakes could not have been higher for Pape Thiaw's African champions. The pre-match storyline was written in the 13th minute when Julian Ryerson limped off with a nagging injury barely a quarter of an hour into a World Cup knockout fixture. Ståle Solbakken was forced into an unplanned reshuffle, sending on Marcus Holmgren Petersen for his World Cup debut, a moment that would prove to have enormous consequences before the first half was even over. Senegal came in with a full squad and the firepower to trouble any defense in the tournament. Solbakken set Norway up in a 4-3-3 designed to be aggressive in transition. The plan was clear: let Senegal have the ball and use the pace of Holland, Nusa, and Sørloth to punish them in behind. Sander Berge anchored the midfield with 127 passes completed across the 90 minutes. A number that tells you exactly how much work he did as the base and the recycling engine of this Norwegian team. Pape Thiaw responded with a 4-2-3-1, placing Sadio Mané in the number 10 role with license to drift and combine. Idrissa Gueye and Lamine Camara screened the defense, while Ismaïla Sarr operated as an inside forward from the right. The structure gave Senegal control in the middle third, evidenced by their 58% possession and 489 passes completed. The tactical mismatch was telling. Norway's narrow 4-3-3 channeled Senegal's play wide, but Sarr's ability to come inside off the flank meant that the Norwegian left channel was consistently exposed. Torbjørn Hegem completed 126 passes, but found himself dragged out of position repeatedly by Sarr's movement, creating the space that would eventually produce 2 Senegalese goals from that very corridor. The opening exchanges belonged to Senegal. Their pressing was sharp, their movement intelligent, and they created the better chances in the first 20 minutes. The expected goals data supports this. Senegal finished the match with an XG of 2.19 to Norway's 1.84, meaning that on balance, the Lions of Teranga were the more threatening side across the full 90 minutes. Yet football is not played in spreadsheets, and Norway's clinical edge proved the decisive factor. Marcus Holmgren Petersen's goal in the 43rd minute was built entirely on a Kalidou Koulibaly error. The Senegal captain timidly cleared an Ødegaard through ball directly into Petersen's path. The World Cup debutant took 2 composed touches to set himself, then unleashed a powerful strike from just inside the area that appeared to go through Edouard Mendy's hands. It was a harsh moment for Senegal. They had been the better side and found themselves behind heading into the tunnel. Before that opener, Holland had been a constant menace, finishing the match with 10 shots, 7 of them on target, and hitting the woodwork once. His sheer physical presence stretched Senegal's backline throughout the first half, occupying Niakate and keeping Koulibaly pinned, which is exactly why so much space opened up for Petersen's run-in behind at the critical moment. At halftime, Norway held a lead they perhaps did not fully deserve on the balance of play, but Senegal's failure to convert their cleaner first-half chances was already looking costly. Solbakken would have been direct at the break. Stay compact, be ready to hit on the counter, and let Holland do what Holland does. Thiaw needed his side to be bolder, more direct. The patient build-up had not produced goals. Norway came out of the tunnel first, and they were sharper for it. 3 minutes into the second half, the game was effectively over as a contest. Holland ran onto a perfectly weighted Ødegaard pass and slotted a left-footed finish past the outstretched left hand of Edouard Mendy. It was the 14th goal Holland had scored in his last 12 competitive appearances for Norway, a statistic that defies repetition because it is simply extraordinary. Senegal responded with a goal of genuine quality in the 53rd minute. Sadio Mané flicked a clever pass into Ismaïla Sarr's path, and Sarr did the rest, shrugging off the desperate attentions of David Müller-Wülf before digging out a low finish past the advancing Ørjan Nyland. It was a reminder of just how dangerous Senegal could be when their technical players found space in behind. The hope lasted precisely 5 minutes. Holland's second and Norway's third arrived in the 58th minute, and Koulibaly was culpable once again. After failing to clear a dangerous ball in the build-up, the Senegal captain allowed Patrick Berg to nip in and win back possession on the edge of the area. Berg's cross found Holland arriving at the near post, and the Manchester City striker guided the ball off the underside of the crossbar with unerring precision. 3-1, and the tie was all but done. The first substitution that shaped this game was the one forced upon Norway before it had barely begun. Pedersen replacing Ryerson in the 13th minute looked like an unwanted disruption, but became the catalyst for the decisive goal. His World Cup debut produced the opener, a piece of opportunism born from Koulibaly's hesitation, and it fundamentally altered how this match was told. At halftime, Solbakken replaced the struggling Frederik Aursnes with Patrick Berg, and the impact was immediate. Berg's energy in the second half was the engine of Norway's third goal. His determination to win back possession in the penalty area and his precise cross to Holland were the two moments that killed the contest. That one substitution effectively doubled Norway's lead on the night. Senegal made their biggest change in the 63rd minute when both Edouard Mendy and Lamine Camara went off, with Pathé Ciss and goalkeeper Mori Diaw coming on. Mendy's injury departure was a blow to Senegal's composure. A goalkeeper change in the middle of a World Cup group stage game rarely helps your concentration at the back. Yet Ciss would go on to make a critical intervention late on, clearing an Oscar Bob shot off the line to prevent the scoreline becoming even more damaging. Kalidou Koulibaly's withdrawal in the 72nd minute, replaced by Pape Matar Sarr, acknowledged a miserable evening for the veteran defender. By that point, the damage was done. Koulibaly had been directly involved in allowing both Pedersen's opener and Holland's second goal, and Thiaw had seen enough. Removing the captain in a World Cup group game speaks volumes about how the evening had unraveled for Senegal's most experienced player. The decisive moment of this match was not one of the spectacular goals. It was Koulibaly's failure to deal with Ødegaard's through ball in the 43rd minute. In that single moment, a hesitant clearance gifted a debutant a World Cup goal, swung the momentum irrevocably, and set Holland up for the brace that followed. 2 Koulibaly errors, 3 Norwegian goals. The mathematics were unforgiving. Norway's 42% possession looked low on paper but was entirely by design. Solbakken's team completed 282 accurate passes at 80% accuracy, efficient rather than elaborate. Senegal had the ball for nearly 3/5 of the match and generated a higher expected goals total. Yet their inability to convert that territorial dominance into a positive result encapsulates everything that went wrong for them in East Rutherford. The attacking numbers tell a fascinating story. Norway had 13 shots in total, 7 on target, a conversion rate that Holland almost single-handedly manufactured. Senegal attempted 16 shots, putting just 4 on target, with Sarr accounting for 9 of those 16 attempts and 3 of the shots on target. The difference was clinical finishing against quantity. Norway scored 3 from 7 on-target efforts, while Senegal scored 2 from 4, despite generating more danger overall. Defensively, Norway were efficient rather than dominant. Nyland was only called upon to make 2 saves, reflecting how poorly Senegal translated their attacking movement into genuine attempts on goal. Senegal's backline, without the injured Koulibaly finishing the game, conceded 3 from positions they ought to have defended, particularly on transitions, where Norway's pace consistently caught them exposed in the final third. The standout performer in a Norway shirt was Erling Haaland, and it is not even a close contest. 10 shots, 7 on target, 2 goals, a woodwork strike, and all of this while holding the entire Senegalese defensive structure in check whenever he dropped short to link play. He now has 4 goals at this World Cup and sits joint second in the tournament's scoring charts. The man simply does not stop. For Senegal, Ismaïla Sarr was remarkable in defeat. 9 shots, 3 on target, 2 goals, and a relentless willingness to take on his marker throughout. His brace was the only thing that prevented a routine Norwegian victory from becoming an embarrassing rout, and his performance in a struggling side showed exactly the quality that a healthy Senegal team could threaten. Sarr finished with a higher shot volume than any other player on the pitch bar Holland. The player who underperformed most visibly was Kalidou Koulibaly. Directly culpable for the first and third Norwegian goals, substandard in the air and caught flat-footed in multiple moments of transition. For a player of his stature and experience, this was a night to forget. The captain's withdrawal in the 72nd minute was a public verdict from his own manager, and at this level, those errors cost you everything. Solbaken's tactical approach was vindicated. The decision to sit deep and transition fast looked questionable when Senegal controlled the first 20 minutes, but once the system produced its first goal, Norway never looked like relinquishing the lead. The halftime introduction of Berg for Orsnes was the sharper tactical call of the evening. It added dynamism to the middle third and directly produced the third goal. Thiaw, by contrast, left his changes too late and allowed Koulibaly to persist for too long after his first error. This was the first competitive meeting between Norway and Senegal, so there is no established historical pattern to draw upon. But in the context of this World Cup, the result establishes Norway as a confident, tactically disciplined side with the world's most reliable goalscorer. For Senegal, this is a second consecutive defeat at a tournament they entered as one of the most anticipated African sides, and the psychological damage of that cannot be underestimated. Norway arrive at this match on the back of 10 consecutive wins, including a 4-1 victory over Iraq and a 4-1 win against Italy in qualification. The depth of their squad is evident. 5 substitutes were used, and the player who scored the opener was not even meant to be in the starting lineup. There is a cohesion to this side that speaks to years of Solbaken's patient building around Holland as the axis. Senegal came in having lost their opening fixture 3-1 to France before this defeat, meaning they now sit pointless after 2 matches. Their form before the tournament was encouraging, with wins over Mauritania, South Sudan, Congo DR, Sudan, and Togo in African qualifying. But the step up to World Cup group stage competition has exposed fragilities at the back that were not apparent in those earlier fixtures. The absences of key defensive cover have amplified those problems. The group standings after matchday 2 tell a stark story. France lead with 6 points and a goal difference of +5. Norway sits second on 6 points with a goal difference of +4. Senegal and Iraq are both pointless, both eliminated in all but mathematical terms unless something extraordinary happens in the final round. Norway are through to the last 32 regardless of their final result. The remaining fixtures are as different as the situations of the 4 teams. Norway face France in what will be a battle for top spot in Group 1, a genuine test against the only side in the group with a comparable points tally. Senegal host Iraq in a dead rubber that they must win and then hope other results go their way. Given Iraq's goal difference of -6, a heavy Senegalese victory is possible, but it will not be enough unless the France-Norway match produces an unlikely points swing. Norway qualify for the knockout rounds, and they do so with genuine momentum. 6 points, 7 goals, Holland with 4 tournament goals already. This is not a side that is grinding through the group stage. They are doing it with style, and the France fixture will tell us whether they are capable of going deep in this competition. Senegal's path to survival is so narrow as to be barely visible. They need to beat Iraq heavily, and they need Norway to do them a favor against France. It is possible, but it requires everything to go right and nothing to go wrong. 3-2 flattered neither team entirely and understated the game entirely. Norway were clinical when Senegal were wasteful, and Koulibaly's errors shifted the match in a direction that all the talent and all the XG in Senegal's locker could not reverse. Ismaïla Sarr's brace gave this game its drama, but Holland's inevitability gave it its result. Norway's next assignment is the biggest test of their campaign so far, and the one that will reveal whether this squad has the quality to threaten in the later rounds. Do not miss our coverage of Norway versus France, right here on FairPlay, Football AI Review. That's the FairPlay verdict on this one. If you want more analysis like this, follow us, find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at FairPlay AI, and follow Anthony personally on X at Anthony Fairplay. See you next match.